Welcome to the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. Paige Bueckers, someone who we will now be referring to as Pandering Paige or Paige the Placater. I will take either of those. Pandering Paige Bueckers goes on record and gives her famous speech. I have a dream that one day black women will get the same opportunity to coach in the WNBA as white women. And then, and only then, we will be.
Paige Bueckers stood before the cameras and didn't just share a vision, she ignited a total firestorm that might just burn her own bridges. In a move that left the front office completely speechless, she demanded a radical shift in who calls the plays, effectively putting her own coaching staff on notice. This wasn't a subtle suggestion. It was a public ultimatum, delivered while the entire sports world was watching. The golden girl of the league just went rogue, and the fallout is already starting to tear the locker room apart. It is the kind of moment that changes a career path forever. Fans are calling it a betrayal, while others say it is a long overdue revolution. Either way, the silence from her coach says everything you need to know about the tension brewing behind closed doors.
Deserving of jobs. Paige's I Have a Scheme speech, where she is scheming to allow black head coaches to fail year after year after year after year and not be replaced. Folks, I've been following the WNBA for 3 years. Teresa Weatherspoon, she failed. She put double-doubles ahead of team victories. She put stat padding ahead of padding victories. Yeah, she needs to go. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. Tanisha Wright, head coach of the Atlanta Dream. Tanisha Wright.
The reaction was instantaneous and brutal. Social media didn't just disagree, they unleashed a wave of fury that rebranded the star overnight. They are calling her Pandering Paige now, a name that is sticking like glue as the highlights of her speech go viral for all the wrong reasons. Fans are rejecting her demands, pointing out the blatant hypocrisy of a player who has thrived under the very system she is now trying to dismantle. It is a PR nightmare that no amount of damage control can fix. People are tired of the virtue signaling, and they are making their voices heard in the loudest way possible. The backlash is so intense that it is overshadowing her performance on the court, turning every post-game press conference into a battlefield of ideologies and personal attacks.
Tanisha, you're not doing your job. Activist herself, Renee Montgomery. Y'all not like us. Y'all not. Renee Montgomery got rid of a black head coach and hired a white man. Oh my God. I'm shaking just thinking about that. And then you have Seattle Storm with Noelle Quinn. Onyeka Ogwumike. Black Lives Matter. Skylar Diggins. Raise the fist up. Her players that appear to be black?
It wasn't just a speech, critics are calling it, I Have a Scheme. Instead of the unifying message we usually hear, Paige's words felt like a calculated move to manipulate the league's hiring practices based on optics rather than wins. She is being accused of scheming to get jobs for people who might not actually be the most qualified for the position. The argument is simple: in professional sports, the only thing that should matter is the scoreboard. But Paige is pushing for a world where the color of your skin matters more than the plays in your playbook. It is a dangerous game to play when millions of dollars and the future of the league are on the line. This isn't just basketball anymore. It is a full-blown political war zone where the players are drawing the lines in the sand.
Saying black women, quote, deserve the same equal opportunity to coach in the league. Now, Paige, you know what you're asserting, right? You know what you're doing. You're accusing the league of having a conspiracy to not hire black women head coach. Paige, you got some proof for that? You got some. I would like to know your proof. I would like to know your evidence for these claims. Oh, you don't have any? It's just your feels? It's just how you feels inside? Okay, Paige. Fair enough. Fair enough. As long as you're being honest with me. Dallas Wings star Paige Bueckers called out the lack of black women.
The core of the controversy lies in her demand for more black women head coaches. Paige claims they deserve the same equal opportunity, but fans are asking where the evidence of a conspiracy actually is. She admits it is based on how she feels rather than on any hard facts or data. This has led to accusations that she is simply acting as a great white savior, trying to solve problems that may not even exist in the way she describes. When you start making massive accusations against a whole league without proof, you tend to lose the locker room fast. Fans are calling her out for being out of touch with reality, and the pressure is mounting for her to back up her claims with something more substantial than just a scripted emotional plea.
The Rooney Rule is a song and a dance. It just forces the NFL, these NFL teams to interview black head coaches. You don't got to hire them, just interview them. So what do? They interview black guys that have no shot to get the job just to say, we checked off that box. The process is hire who's most qualified. That's it. That's the process. Hire who's most qualified. Not tough. Bueckers, who's in her second season in the WNBA, responded that she wants to see equal opportunity and no discrimination based on what you look like, who you like, and anything of that nature.
The irony of the situation is that Paige herself is a rising star in a system that is currently working. She is in her second season, and her team has seen a massive improvement, going from a losing record to a winning one under their current head coach. Yet, here she is, essentially calling for that same coach to be replaced by someone who fits her preferred demographic. It is a move that many see as biting the hand that feeds her. How can you look your coach in the eye after publicly suggesting they shouldn't have their job simply because of their appearance? The level of disrespect is staggering, and it is creating a toxic environment that could derail their entire season. It is a classic case of an athlete overstepping their bounds and forgetting why they are there.
This league was. So it's definitely right for them to get the same equal opportunity as everyone else. Well, the league was built on some white guys. Go check out Ben Daniel Podcast Quick Hits. We talked about this a little bit more than depth yesterday. 7 of the 15 current head coaches in the WNBA are women. The last black woman to hold a head coaching position in the league was Noelle Quinn, who coached the Seattle Storm for parts of 5 seasons before the team decided not to renew her contract last year. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's it. Let's take a look at some of the reactions, shall we? This is getting ugly. We should hire people based on their skin color. White, liberal, woman.
Fans are pointing to the brutal reality of coaching in the league today. Look at the track record of some of the names Paige is implicitly defending. Teresa Weatherspoon was given a massive opportunity, and what did she do with it? Critics argue she prioritized individual stat padding over team victories, leading to a failure that couldn't be ignored. Then you have Tanisha Wright with the Atlanta Dream. Was her roster really that much worse than the competition? No. Critics argue she just didn't get the job done. In the world of high-stakes sports, you only get one shot, and if you miss, you can't blame it on a lack of opportunity. You have to own the results. Paige seems to think that certain people should be allowed to fail year after year without being replaced.
Her organization hired a female black head coach when they had the opportunity. This is sports, it's not DEI. If you're the most qualified, you'll get the job. Is she not happy with her head coach? They seem to be having a good year. Last year, they were 10-34. Yeah, Paige, you seem to have some cachet. Why didn't you go up to the owner, to the GM, and say, nah, you know what? I don't want to hire this Jose Fernandez guy. I don't care how good he is. I don't care how right for the job is. We need to hire somebody else. Somebody a little bit more melanated. Yeah. Okay. All right. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired of this narrative. I feel like white people keep this narrative alive more than black people. Then she should have advocated to get a black woman for her.
The situation in Seattle is even more telling. Noelle Quinn coached the Storm for 5 seasons. And what was the result? The environment was described as toxic by the players themselves. When your own team throws you under the bus, that is not a coaching conspiracy, that is a leadership failure. Even stars like Skylar Diggins and Nneka Ogwumike couldn't save that sinking ship. Yet, Paige wants to hold these examples up as proof that more of the same is needed. It is a logic loop that doesn't make any sense to the average fan. They want to see winning basketball, not a diversity checklist that results in a toxic locker room. The disconnect between the players' rhetoric and the actual results on the floor is becoming a massive problem for the league's brand.
PR team at Wasserman, PB is never guarded hard, and this shit is why. First of all, why would the interviewer ask Paige this question? Why are you asking this to Paige? Because you're trying to get a clicks. You're trying to get a response. You got the clicks, you got the response. Will she call out the lack of white women or Asian women in the WNBA? Only 20% of players are white and 2% are Asian. Damn. Ritual virtual signaling. Dallas has a new coach this year. Is she upset with him? I'm sure her coach loved hearing this. Damn. So she's calling for her white male coach to be fired and replaced.
And then there is the case of Renee Montgomery. She is a black female owner who actually got rid of a black head coach to hire a white male. If the people on the inside, who actually own the teams and understand the business, are making these choices, what does that tell you? It tells you that they are looking for the best person to win games, period. They aren't worried about the narrative or the social media backlash, they are worried about their bottom line. For Paige to come out and criticize the league's hiring practices, when even minority owners are making these decisions, shows how deep her delusion goes. It is a slap in the face to the very people who are trying to build the league into a sustainable and profitable business. The backlash hasn't stopped at just fans. Other commentators are tearing her apart, calling her a fake-ass pandering weirdo. They are questioning why she didn't use her influence during the off-season to advocate for a black female coach when her own team was hiring. Instead, she waited until the cameras were on her to make a scene. It feels like a staged performance, coordinated by her PR team at Wasserman, to boost her brand rather than a genuine call for change. If she really cared, critics argue, she would have been in the owner's office making these demands months ago. Doing it now just feels like she is trying to get clicks and views at the expense of her own team's stability. It is a transparent move that is backfiring in a spectacular and public way. The statistics are also being thrown back in her face. Only a small percentage of players in the league are white or Asian. Yet, critics argue, we don't see Paige calling for more diversity on the roster. Why is she only focused on the coaching staff? Fans are asking if she will call out the lack of Asian representation, or if that doesn't fit the current trendy narrative. It is this selective activism that drives people crazy. If you are going to demand equal representation, you have to look at the whole picture, not just the parts that get you the most praise on social media. By ignoring the broader demographics of the league, critics argue, she is exposing her true motives. It is not about equality, it is about following a script that she thinks will make her more popular with a certain crowd. The concept of the Rooney Rule is being dragged through the mud as well. Critics call it a song and dance, a process that just forces teams to interview candidates they have no intention of hiring, just to check a box. Paige wants to double down on this failed system. But forcing an interview doesn't create a better coach, it just creates more resentment. The best way to get a job should always be to be the most qualified candidate. If you are the best, you will get hired. If you aren't, you won't. It is not a tough concept to grasp, but somehow it has become controversial in the modern sports world. Paige is pushing for a process that prioritizes appearance over competence, and that is a dangerous road to go down for any professional organization. Let's talk about the specific demand that has everyone talking. Paige essentially implied that white men and women should be pushed aside to make room for her preferred candidates. This is literal discrimination based on what someone looks like, which is the very thing she claims to be against. You can't say you want no discrimination and then turn around and ask the league to discriminate against people who don't look a certain way. It is a massive conundrum that she hasn't bothered to address. Fans see the contradiction, and they aren't letting her off the hook. You can't have it both ways, but Paige is trying her hardest to play the hero while advocating for the same exclusionary tactics she claims to hate. The comments section on her latest interview is a graveyard of her reputation. People are asking if she is unhappy with her current coach, Jose Fernandez. They are pointing out that the team was 10-34 last year and is now having a great season. Why would she want to blow that up? It makes no sense from a basketball perspective. It only makes sense if you care more about the optics than the wins. This is what happens when athletes start listening to their PR teams more than their coaches. They lose sight of the goal, which is to be the best player on the court and lead their team to a championship. Instead, she is leading them into a media circus that no one asked for or cares about. The anger from the fans is palpable. They are tired of being lectured by millionaires who don't have to live with the consequences of the policies they advocate for. Paige is safe in her position as a star player, but the coaches she is targeting are fighting for their livelihoods every day. To have one of your own players publicly call for your replacement based on your race is a level of betrayal that is hard to recover from. It creates a rift in the locker room that can't be healed with a simple apology. This is the kind of drama that sinks seasons and ruins careers. If she isn't careful, she might find herself on a team where no coach wants to work with her because they know she will turn on them the moment it becomes trendy. Even the way the media is covering this is being scrutinized. People notice that in articles about her speech, the term "black women" is capitalized while "white women" is kept in lowercase. This might seem like a small detail, but critics argue it points to a broader bias that fans are sick of seeing. It feels like the entire system is being tilted to support one narrative while silencing any dissenting voices. Paige is the face of this movement right now, and she is bearing the brunt of the frustration from fans who just want to watch sports without being hit over the head with a political agenda. The backlash is a sign that people have reached their breaking point with the constant virtue signaling. What happened to merit, skill, and talent? Those used to be the only things that mattered in sports. Now, critics argue, if you don't have the right look, your job is on the line. Some critics are even jokingly suggesting that if we are hiring based on appearance, we should start demanding more coaches with afros and glasses. If you aren't wearing the right frames, you're being discriminated against. It sounds ridiculous because it is, but they argue that is the logical conclusion of the path Paige is trying to lead the league down. Once you move away from merit, there is no end to the categories you can create to exclude people. It is a race to the bottom that benefits no one and ruins the integrity of the game we all love. The Dallas Star is getting absolutely wrecked today, and it is entirely of her own making. She had the chance to be a unifying force in the league, someone who brings people together through her incredible talent. Instead, she chose to be a divisive figure, leaning into a narrative that alienates a huge portion of the fan base. The question now is how her team will respond. Will they rally around her, or will they distance themselves from the controversy? Given the intensity of the rejection from fans, it is likely that the front office is already having some very uncomfortable conversations with her agents. You can't be the face of a franchise when half the fans are booing you before you even step on the court. There is also the question of who asked her for this opinion in the first place. Fans are pointing out that nobody cares about another athlete giving an opinion that has nothing to do with the game. We see this time and time again, and the result is always the same: a drop in viewership and a rise in fan frustration. The league is already struggling to find its footing in a crowded sports market. Adding this kind of unnecessary drama is the last thing it needs. Paige thinks she is helping, but critics argue she is actually making it harder for the league to attract new fans who are turned off by the constant political posturing. It is a self-inflicted wound that will take a long time to heal. Critics are also pointing out that this narrative is often kept alive more by white liberal athletes than by the people they claim to be helping. They argue it is a form of performative activism that feels hollow and insincere. If Paige really wanted to make a difference, critics say, she would be funding coaching clinics or mentoring young athletes from underserved communities. Instead, she is making demands about other people's jobs from the safety of a podium. It is easy to call for someone else to be fired. It is much harder to do the actual work of building a more inclusive environment from the ground up. Fans see the difference, and they are calling her out for taking the easy way out for the sake of her image. The timing of this is also suspicious. Why now? Why this specific game? Some believe it was a calculated move to distract from her own performance or to create a headline that would overshadow a teammate's success. Whatever the reason, critics argue, it has backfired spectacularly. Instead of being seen as a leader, she is being seen as a problem. A player who is more interested in her personal brand than her team's success is a liability, no matter how much talent they have. The league is watching closely to see how this plays out, and other players are taking note of the massive backlash. It might just be the wake-up call the league needs to get back to focusing on the game. As the dust starts to settle, one thing is clear. Critics argue that fans have rejected Paige's shocking demand. They aren't interested in what critics describe as her plan to overhaul the coaching ranks based on race. They want to see the best coaches, the best players, and the best basketball. Anything less, they argue, is a disservice to the sport and the people who pay their hard-earned money to watch it. Paige has a lot of work to do if she ever wants to win back the trust of the fans she has alienated. Critics say it's